Hello, YouTube. Welcome to the Compound Fracture YouTube channel. We are about to start episode number 7 of Suzerain. I still keep forgetting that name. It is not the most memorable of names, but it is a very memorable game. I highly recommend it to everyone. I'm enjoying it a lot. Without further ado, let's check the news. The Halsard Post says that protesters are targeting sacred symbols. Well, that's interesting. What initially began as a protest against the murder of Bernard Circus has turned into rioters forcibly tearing down monuments of former politicians. Ooh, topical. We're perfectly okay with this. In fact, monuments should be only erected to people who help with the population and with the workers, not to enemies of the state. I see Swordland today doesn't seem to even exist anymore. I have no idea why that's happening. The Elec Times says there was an explosion in Dyer that killed 3 officers and injured 22 others. Militants from the Bludish Freedom Front were likely behind the attack. We still want to make peace with the Workers' Party of Bludia in hopes that we can disarm the Bludish Freedom Front by addressing their demands instead of by force. Debt nation. We're in a tough spot. Our budget is now -1. We are incurring a little bit of debt. We think that that's okay, though, as long as the debt doesn't get serious. And Richter calls for action. That is the liberal leader. He wants us to address issues like term limits and electoral threshold. Well, we are addressing electoral threshold. We are not addressing term limits, so hopefully that he's okay with that. A half victory for him should hopefully guarantee his support. He also expressed support for the education minister, which is excellent because we support her too. The recession is growing faster now, probably because we have not given bailout money to the corporations. The economy shrank by 2.4%. We need popular solutions, not solutions that only improve the corporation's power. Geopolitical talks about how Smolak condemns Arcasian soldiers in Lesbia. That is the Wesnek President Viktor Smolak, who we have mixed feelings about, criticized the Lesbian government for bringing Arcasian soldiers close to the border. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay. Last month, Prime Minister Alvarez and President Walker agreed on the construction of military bases in Lesbia that would station ATO soldiers. ATO is the Intergovernmental Military Alliance between 14 countries, primarily led by Arcasia. Heavily consists of countries with capitalist economic structures. You know, early in this game, we decided to increase our ties with Arcasia, but we are regretting that decision and will probably move in a different direction. Chancellor Hegel condemned the military buildup in Lesbia, and that's Volksland. I see. If we are against Arcasia, we are for Volksland, and I think that's how our policy will go in the future. And I think that's it for the news. So moving on to reports from around the country. Lenkirk, the highway construction, is having issues. There's a second opportunity to visit the seaside town known for its salmon. Thousands of people from the city were employed for construction work in the new highway project. But the main purpose of the visit was to solve construction issues. The mayor welcomed us at his mansion and took us on a brief tour of the city. Afterwards, we gathered at City Hall. Simon looked worried, but Lilius looked dead serious. Well, Lilius always looks dead serious, and we are not a fan of Lilius. There was also a message of support from the mayor of Arvery, who was grateful for the investments. Simon said he has concerns about the construction due to the process being slower than expected. We scheduled the project to finish in late 1955. I don't know what the current year is. Maybe the journal knows. It's 54. Yeah, so it's still a year and a half away, I suppose. But the Swordish State Corporation might miss the target. Lilius says after engaging with managers, they have said that they are moving forward slowly but steadily. The cliffside ground-laying construction between Lenkirk and Arvery is proving more dangerous than expected. The SSC is an organization of principle, so they aren't rushing and risking people's lives. That's good. We could trust them. We can talk about ways of getting the construction back on schedule, which might be expensive or come at the workers' expense, and we don't like either of those things. I'm leaning towards trust, although we can probably won't harm to ask. Let's ask. Is there anything interesting here? There are a couple issues that need to be resolved. One of the most important issues is their construction management team. The other could be the outdated methods used, which require more manpower, but we aren't sure if that contributes. But with that comes other issues. We don't want to create chaos in the management team, which could create further problems. Interesting. I don't really want to give them more resources. Our budget is already in trouble. Our economy has gone from 3 bars down to 2. We are dramatically improving education and healthcare in this country, but the economy is suffering as a result, and I'm very concerned about that. Interesting. In general, I don't know about... So we have 2 options that don't require more resources, and they seem very similar. It's either fire the managers or just we can't let mismanagement delay the project. Let's do that. Simon agrees. Lilia says it's important that we create jobs for our citizens who are unemployed rather than foreigners. Interesting. We could give them a slap on the wrist. We can officially warn them. Oh, I see. Interesting. Well, they certainly can retaliate. The bureaucracy does tend to be powerful. Do we want to replace them? I think we do. Okay. The state warning the state doesn't make any sense anyway. Their reasons are just. One way or another, we have to solve this issue. Interesting. We can either give the construction managers money, warn them, or replace them. With more resources, the managers are more likely to hit the deadline. Any other action hurts us. I don't think we can afford to take more money out of the budget. I think that would be a disaster at this point. Let's replace them. Simon says it's good to see that failure isn't rewarded. Lilius thinks it's a bad decision. It hurts the honorable SSC. I almost agree with Lilius, I'm finding. That may have been a mistake, but we will accept the consequences as they come. Okay. Well, that's unfortunate. Meanwhile, the British Freedom Front has bombed a police station again. Okay. Critical support. Back in the capital, there's a report about the managers being replaced. Okay. Nothing new there or noteworthy. Oh, the report from Magnolia, offshore drilling near Helge Island increased tensions. Okay. We don't support Magnolia any longer. We did at first, but we have changed our minds on that issue, which is unfortunate. We'd rather be consistent. Read the report from Lekoven. Young Swords members arrested and face terrorism charges. I support that. The police did something right, despite the fact that we have defunded them. The perpetrators confessed to their plans and said they did it in response to the ban. They've each been convicted, and sentenced to 154 years in prison. All right, discussion of changes to the tax system. This is how we'll get our budget back in line. We will tax corporations. They will run away and it'll worsen our economy. But in the long run, I hope to rebuild the economy on a much more firm footing. Okay, so the Mercian Sea stretched out as far as the eye could see, and it was dotted with many ships. They were mostly cargo ships. Tracing back the paths of the ships, I looked at the harbor. Lekhaven was home to one of the largest harbors on the continent. The door opened, and we have Simon, the Minister of the Economy. We have Mikhail, the co-chairman of the National Business Council, and Edith, the chairman of the Central Bank. Pleasantries, pleasantries. Good afternoon, people. Simon put down his bag and started collecting his documents. Before we start, Mikhail would like to mention some rumors. The Workers' Rights Act did not sit well with business holders. Surprise, surprise. Especially the first section about minimum wages. Edith overheard the same. This has caused these businesses to lose millions of rents. Unfortunate, especially during a recession. Now, that's an interesting thing. When we look at real life, we understand that, in fact, minimum wages never hurt the economy. They put more money in the hands of ordinary people, which then has ordinary people spend more money on products and services, which improves the business climate in general. Minimum wage is not an economically harmful issue. If anything, it's neutral when it comes to economics and beneficial when it comes to living conditions. So I'm not sure I agree with the game's take on that one. Interesting. What is unfortunate is that the bill was enacted this late is probably the right answer. Neither of them responded. We are making enemies, people. We are a little bit worried that this may be our ruin and downfall. First of all, Simon would like to thank everyone. We all know how complicated our current system is. He turned to me. Our goal is to end the recession. I agree. Before we move ahead, we need us to determine the direction. We have a few possibilities as a result of the work we've done. We can increase, maintain, or decrease the taxes for large corporations. Some of us in the room have strong opinions. In parallel, we can increase, maintain, or decrease the taxes for small and medium businesses. Let's start with large corporations and then move on to small businesses. Interesting. What's the outcome if we increase taxes? Simon thinks it's not an option because of the economy. Taking what's remaining from businesses will destroy the economy. I see. What about keeping things as they are? Simon's of the opinion that if we don't make changes, nothing will change. Okay. What does everyone think we should do? Simon doesn't think we can do anything at this point. I thought he just said that we should do something. Although he would have preferred a decrease in taxes, it doesn't seem to be possible. Edith thinks our international trade is mostly by the products of these corporations. They are the backbone of our economy. Mikhail agrees. Well, they are both business leaders after all. Of course they'd agree. I'm ready to make a decision. We'll increase the taxes for large corporations and balance it with a decrease for small businesses. This is a potentially disastrous decision that I'm making. I think it is the right call, though. We'll do it. Yes. Everyone disagrees with me, but that's okay. They are enemies. Enemies of the people. We're going to either thank Simon or say good work. I think we will say thank you, Simon, for agreeing with me, even though you disagreed. Well, we are deeply concerned with where this is going. Deeply, deeply concerned indeed. Halsord Post talks about the tax cuts for small and medium corporations in order to end the recession. As per the information provided by the ministry, the new changes will include a tax cut of 10%, bringing the total to 25% for small and medium-sized corporations. Swordland today talks about me firing the entire management of the highway project. I'm not sure if that was the right decision. We'll see. Torrey School wins an award. It is the highest average results. Education experts believe the principal and head teachers excelled in taking responsibility. Okay. The Radical says that the Red Youth calls for peace. I agree, Red Youth. Oh, you are so right. He denied terrorist allegations and condemned the attacks. Some people are trying to incite violence and take away the meaning of these peaceful protests, he says. The economists who will hate us talk about the large corporation tax increases that are uncalled for. We increase the taxes by 10% to a total of 45%. Flight of capital will arise. Geopolitical talks about Smolak threatening the new military incursions targeting the BFF. The British Freedom Front. Interesting. Okay. We have a update for Rumburg. Rumburg is our enemy. Let's just go with that. Queen Beatrice Livingston calls Swordland a threat to world peace. So we condemned them diplomatically a few episodes ago, and now they are doing the same to us. This is a worrying turn of events. She condemned the riots and police violence in Swordland, also expressing her worries about the direction we're headed. She urged the army to secure the southern border. Dangerous talk. What else do we have? We have an exclamation mark in Lurien. That is our next task. Let's do it. Visit and inspect the schools. Torrey School. This is the school that succeeded. It's a middle school. It's situated close to the suburbs, just outside the city center, flanked by 2 hills, each dotted with shrubs and flowers. We have Dinosaur and Ciara with us. Dinosaur says it must be the principal right this way. The principal was a man of short stature with a bushy mustache and a pair of glasses. We do not have an update on him in the codec, unfortunately. He approached us quickly but was stopped by the security guards. I think it's important that we avoid the risk of assassination, so let's let the security guards do their thing. He says it's an honor to meet with us. We're going to smile for the cameras, sure. Welcome to our humble school. Sorry about the security guards, we could say. I think we'd rather just avoid that unfortunate business and say it's good to be here instead. He says, excellent, and he talks to Dinosaur and Miss Walda. In the entrance, the school's motto was inscribed on the wall in giant letters. I'm not going to try to pronounce all of that. Education is the premise of progress in all societies and all families, he says. We walked through the gates. There were many students lined up in front of the stairs. The school band started playing. All of the students immediately snapped to attention and turned to me. This looks more like a military institution than a school, says Ciara. Principal says exactly, that's what we pride ourselves on. Discipline is the utmost importance. Oh, shoot. Well, this brings us a little bit to the difference between good results in standardized testing versus good education outcomes. Good education outcomes are often about creating critical thinking skills in the youth. And critical thinking skills are not necessarily the secret to rote memorization, which can help with tests. So I'm going to say we need educated people, not soldiers. And Ciara agrees. The principal says he can assure us that the students are very well educated. In fact, it's one of the top 10 middle schools in the country. Now watch while they take the oath. Oh boy. They're taking the oath. I am a sword. My strength lies in my blood. Oh no. Girl says, I'll respect the honorable elders, protect the young. Oh man, life belongs to Swordland. Oh geez, this sounds like a Trump speech. Oh no. Oh no. Colonel Saul, what? No. We're gonna do nothing. Ciara says it provides the uselessness of the oath. No one even remembers it after they graduate. That's true. If you wish to follow the principal, we do, sure. We'll take a look at one of the classrooms. Let's do it. As soon as we enter the classroom, everyone rose up and snapped to attention. We're going to say at ease because we do not like attention. I mean, we like attention for the right reasons, but not for reasons of fear. The students sat down. The same boy and girl walked up to us. Principal says these are our top students and our top class. Here is my son. The boy came before me and saluted like a military officer. Tell Mr. President what you want to be. Mr. President, I want to be a general, sir. Oh. I am ready to sacrifice myself for the country and you, sir. Oh my God. What kind of father would raise his son to say something like that? Jeez. This is nonsense. We are coming out against this principal. He is sorry. Ciara agrees with us. That's excellent. The principal will discipline the students for his failings. Jeez. Ciara is asking the student what she thinks. The girl says, I'm sick of having to knit and sew while the boys learn science and chemistry. I'm smarter than all of them. Why do I have to take these stupid handcraft classes? Wow. My math and reading scores are the best in the school, but they won't let me take the classes I want just because I'm a girl. I want to be a scientist, not some soldier's wife. We could applaud her, or we could talk down to the principal, who is a very small man after all, so down is indeed the direction of our talking. Do it. Do it! Dinosaur will check back and ensure the print changes are made. Cameras flashed again. I look around the classroom and saw a portrait of Soul. Take down the portrait of Soul. Well, we could ask a dinosaur to do it, or we could, be all militaristic towards this military man and order him to do it. Let's just get Dinosaur to do it instead. Even the reporters looked confused before taking photos of the portrait being taken down. Ciara was smiling. Well then, unfortunately, we're almost out of time. We have other meetings to attend to. This is, again, we're making so many enemies, but we hope to make friends to balance out the enemies. I really am getting the feeling that our presidency is not going to last too long, but we will make lasting changes while we are in power. Okay, so Ciara will talk to the girl. Principal thanks us. Come on, class 1-2. Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez. Well, we'll repeat this. We'll do something. Something. The morning is coming, I believe is what that means. The dawn will soon approach and great changes will be made. Briefing on the proposal for education reform. Okay, here we go. We got to reform the education system here. We've got Ciara and Dinosaur with us. She could not stop thinking about the boy and the girl. And just like her, we are also more sure of our intentions to reform. I agree. Those students have to repeat the same soulless propaganda every single day. They are being brainwashed. That is how you get young swords. That is how you get young fascists. It's terrible. On top of that, young girls are denied the same opportunity as boys. Women like me, Lilius, Naya, even your wife, we had to study twice as hard to receive the same education. Mr. President, we need to bring change. Very well. What do we need? We need to keep politics out of the curriculum. Soul should be viewed as a historical figure. Children shouldn't have to repeat his name every day. This is actively poisoning bright young minds. Instead of thinking for themselves, they are learning to take things at face value. We also need to ensure boys and girls receive the same instruction. Handcrafts like knitting and sewing should be taught to both sexes or not at all. Swordland's youth must be technically skilled and capable for the next decade. That won't be possible with the amount of nationalistic indoctrination and narrow-minded thinking found in schools today. Either we raise a generation ready for the challenges of the future or not. What will it be? We are absolutely certain we don't care what Dinosaur thinks. We will reform the education system, and we will not regret it. Let's move on. After the budget increase, the ministry quickly began formulating plans on how to effectively use the money. But before we move forward, the question of keeping education fully state-funded or allowing new private schools remains open. State service only. Ciara agrees the government should be responsible for managing education completely. We want to keep this society level. Equality of opportunity is the only way to allow a situation where equality of outcome is possible. Opportunity must be equal. We have enough money to improve education in Swordland. We do not need to complicate things further with privatization initiative. Keep it solely a matter for the state. Will do. That should be it for now. This has been a productive day. Thank you for your time. We dispersed. I feel calmer somehow. Well, that was a very nice day indeed. I think we did good. Let's look at the news. Hallsword Post talks about us visiting the school. During this visit, that principal, who we did not like, nonetheless seems to have been very happy to greet us. He is loyal to the state. The assembly talks about prayer language. Interesting. Very interesting. Today, the leader of the NFP, the fascists, has proposed the Prayer Language Act to the Assembly. The bill aims to standardize the language of prayer. That is disgusting, people. Prayer language has always been controversial, especially in Bergia region, where most of the Bludish population resides and conducts their prayers in Bludish. The proposal has caused heated discussions between Bludish MPs and the NFP, resulting in Mansoon Leckie, who is the Bludish leader, or the leader of the independent MPs, I see, leaving the assembly in protest. Rain brings Saul's portrait down, says Swordland today. During a school visit, President Rain was captured on cameras asking the school staff to bring Tarquin Saul's portraits down. The event sparked controversy and raised questions about the president's intentions. The highly prestigious school has been one of the best education centers for pre-high school education. Yet, according to the reports from the visit, I was not fond of the quality and content of the education. Yes, that is true. We ordered portraits to be brought down from the walls of the school, increasing doubts about my loyalty to the party and the founder. Many nationalists and moderates, many of whom also voted for me, have raised their concerns about me trying to erase Saul's identity. In the Lecken Times, Keebner, the head of the fascist party, has said we're making a mistake by ruling the country without addressing policies that have negatively affected our society, etc., 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 not being open to discussions about proper reforms. Oh, man. The fascists and their proper reforms. Yes, yes. Also criticized the liberal leader for the nonsense collaboration. We must maintain collaboration, unfortunately, with that liberal social democratic leader, because it is the only way we can maintain our majority in the assembly while we anger the nationalist wing of our own party. It's unfortunate, but it's true. Meanwhile, in the Radical, President Rain, the USB, and the Colonel, on Friday morning, us and the education minister visited a middle school known to proudly be a Solist establishment. During the visit, we were seen speaking with pupils and school staff before ordering Saul's portrait removed. The reasoning behind the controversial and brave move, yes, I agree, we are very brave, and so are you, Radical newspaper, so are you. The event may very well have been for show or a sign there are widening cracks. Interesting. I like that article very much. It's true. We're starting to get the left on our side, and we can use them to bludgeon the center later. Ministry of Education started work on education reform. Good stuff. United Contana launched a second satellite. That's the Eastern Bloc, yes. Okay, Sputnik 2. And we have a meeting with Gloria Torrey on planned reforms. Let's get to that. Meetings are always fun. Today, a private meeting with Gloria Torrey, one of the leading figures of the USP, our party. She was also key in reaching 150 signatures to propose the Constitution. She has extensive control over our party's conservative and moderate wings. When I walked into the corridors of the Grand National Assembly, I was confronted by memories of the historic building. Despite being a member of Assembly not long ago, it now felt like a distant past. I walked into the left wing of the Assembly, which currently acted as the quarters of the USP. Gloria's office was the first one inside. I knocked on the door. Hello, Gloria. Let's be familial. Good to see you here, Mr. Rain. It was a small and neatly organized office. There were small figurines, portraits, and plants. On her gesture, I took a seat. The chair was very uncomfortable. That's unfortunate. How are you doing? She's fine. How are we? Oh, we could be very complimentary to her. That would be very nice. We should flatter her. Let's flatter her. We don't want her openly opposing us, even though in principle she is kind of opposed to what we're doing. So how does the presidential chair compare to the ones in the Assembly? Well, we could talk about it not being great. We could be very humble here, or we could say it's fine, but the work that comes with it is insane. I don't agree with that. I don't like projecting that type of weakness. So it's not great. I'm sure it doesn't give back pains. Well, that's true. Anyway, let's keep this simple. You know why we are here. You want me to give you my support. I don't see why the backbone of this party would support your rushed reforms against our party's founder as well as the states. Interesting. The reforms are not against anyone. It's all in the name of democracy. She thinks I'm here to destroy the party. Even though I owe everything to President Sol. I don't know about that. I am not a big fan of that. Okay. There is nothing personal about this, or I would never betray our party. I think there's nothing personal about this. Whatever I intend to do, I'll be facing the opposition. That's all she can say. So she is not going to be on our side. We absolutely must rely on the reformists to carry through any policy. Our own party will be split against us, and that's a problem. Well, we could bribe her. I don't know about that, though. Let's explain the necessity of the reforms. All of these answers are a mixed bag. Number one is we need these reforms to fix our problems with the unrestricted power of the Supreme Court. Now that's nice because we could channel the disagreement from being something about our party, which is her side, to something about the court. We could therefore scapegoat the court and maybe smooth this over. Let's see, is there anything here that suggests she supported democratic revolutionaries, organized student unions. She likes speaking and debating. She was spokesman for education. That's interesting. She protested against the reformist agenda. So we probably don't want to phrase this in the same way Edward Alfonso would have phrased his policies. Okay. We could talk about needing the people's support, which is that's true. That's the way we feel about it, is that the people should be the people should be what we rely on. I like that she supported democratic revolutionaries up here. React in changing times. Interesting. I think her support of democratic revolutionaries suggests that maybe we should scapegoat the court here. Let's do it. Supreme Court is doing what they can to preserve Saul's value. Okay, you like the court, really? Oh, dear. Oh, this is a trouble. This is trouble, trouble, trouble. Presumably in hopes to bring communists into the assembly. Oh, you got us there, Gloria. You got us there. Oh, boy. The decrease is important to democratize our elections. Interesting. Removed entirely, or there is no discussion, so we can't even reduce it. Yeah, okay, you know what? You're our enemy, you will be our enemy. We cannot solve this. We're in trouble, people. We'll shake her hand. She wishes us the best, okay. She will not help us. This is a very big problem. We will definitely get the reformist wing on side. And if we can convince the leader of the Liberal Soc Dem party to support us, that is a must. Even if we have to bribe him, we might just do it, you know. Our general principled opposition to bribes kind of falls apart when it's a matter of political life and death. Well, at least we get to have a relaxing ride home with our good friend Serge. So what's next? We meet with Alvin Calvin. This will be our ally. He welcomes us. He has many bookshelves and files and papers. It's claustrophobic. How is everything going? It's been busy. The party's work has been hard. Thank you for asking. Let's read about him before we move on. This is a very important meeting after all. Free market reforms. We cannot push the planned economy. If there's anything that'll bring his support away from us, that is it. Same with the Liberals, by the way. All their support of big businesses against us. We're trying to balance on a tightrope between worlds here, and it's going to be very difficult to maintain our power. So how are things going for us? I'm feeling pretty good. That's great. He wanted to express his gratitude for passing the Workers' Rights Act. That's tremendous. We don't want to talk about the Workers' Revolution. That will turn him against us. He is a very soft lefty, if we can even call him a lefty, which I don't think we can, really. We have to be very tactical here. It was the right thing to do, or you and I see eye to eye. Don't know which one to choose here. It was the right thing to do. Let's be principled. Indeed, the people will credit us. Businesses will share the burden, but it's a choice they abide by. I have to say, the close collaboration between the palace and the party is going well. Excellent. Anyway, sir, let's talk about the proposal. Thanks for coming here for my input, because there are some subjects where Gloria and I don't see eye to eye. I have to say that most of the progressives were already starting to warm up to you, but your attempt at changing the Constitution created a bit of excitement. One could dare say an excitement that hasn't been felt since the 30s. Yet there are some issues with the current status. Okay. He cannot support it in its current state. Oh dear. What's the problem? Drastic decrease in the threshold. The reformist wing of the party will do its best to boycott it. There will have been negative consequences for our party, since dozens of parties could potentially enter the parliament. Twiddle his thumbs. Reformists were expecting a reform about term limits. Okay. We could introduce term limits. That could be our compromise. I'm willing to bend on one of these two issues if we have to, but not both. And I'm not sure which one is more important to us. We can address that. Let's talk about term limits. Do we want to bring in term limits, people? I mean, I don't support them because they are inherently anti-democratic in my mind. But at the same time, it seems like they have, much like our real world, people believe that they are democratic, although there aren't that many nations in the world that have term limits, frankly, and most democracies do not have them. This is probably a game created in America, like most games. Interesting. Okay, we'll do term limits. He will support the proposal. Maybe we'll consider him for a job. You bet I will. We are friends, Mr. Calvin. Okay. We have lived to fight another day. Thank you, Mr. Calvin. We are friends. Oh, that was an exhausting meeting. Okay, we going to the restaurant of the assembly to eat. We saw Alvin talking to his people in the distance. After a while, the preparations for the conference began, and I went into the conference hall and prepared my notes for the speech I was going to make. It took time to get all the present members of the party inside the hall. Gloria Torrey announced me from the stand. I walked up to the stand as everyone in the room started clapping. Yes! I think we're winning. Do we want to address them as brothers and sisters of the country or as ladies and gentlemen of the party? I think we should talk about the country. I'm here today to announce the future of our country. Reason for changes. Okay. Our system and institutions have increasingly become undemocratic over the decades after Seoul tightened his grip on the country. Since then, we have a Supreme Court that obstructs the duties of the President and the Assembly. We must finally be brave enough to go against the status quo that they created and write a new constitution. I paused when some people started clapping, but it was short-lived. After taking a breath, I continued, oh no. Well, we could talk more about democracy. We could talk about why this will help the party survive the next elections, or we could target the old guards in the Supreme Court. Let's talk about our enemies. I blame the old guards for not allowing the legislative to do their work. I explained how there are more reforms that can be done if their power over constitutional changes were to be limited. A round of applause from the left was heard. Later, I explained the contents of the new constitution and asked for their full support. We will ask for their votes. The reformist wing on the left stood up and started clapping loudly after Alvin Calvin made a sign. I saluted everyone in the room one last time and bid them farewell. I walked outside the assembly and back to the palace. Seems like we've entered a new turn in the game, and that's wonderful. So let's look at the news. The Household Post says the president meets the party. It was reported that I used the meeting to give a speech to the party and announce the contents of a first draft of the Constitution. The details were not made public. Continue. Chapter 3. Balance of Power in Eastern Mercopa. Loading. Come on, load, game, load. There we go. Okay, what's next? The news. We've got an article from The Radical. I do like reading those. Archaic state of Swordland's conscription laws. Interesting. Dear reader, I ask you this. What year are we in? 1880s, 1920s? The matter is the mandatory military service. In times when there are no active laws, why do we need to have these conscriptions? Active wars, rather. Let me answer that. It's because someone profits from it. Not only does this make warmongering soulists happy, it also works out for large defense corporations. Interesting. We met with Smolak and Van Horten. Swordland is embarking on a great geopolitical gamble with the new trade initiative. Yeah, this here is the thing that we kind of regret from many episodes ago, where we decided to get closer to Agnolia. We might have to shift priorities there, which will not be helpful for us because it's good to appear decisive. We have 2 exclamation marks available. One is where United Contana reached out and offered aid, and one is where... Well, let's read the report first. Reports can always go quickly. Ministry of Health discussed privatization. Not good. Status of immigration regulation and the Religious Harmony Bill. Let's sign or veto the bill. For the purposes of religious harmony and unity, this is... Oh, yes, this is the language laws that restrict the Bloodish ability to... hold their services in Hebrew, in Bloodish. So we are definitely vetoing this because screw the fascists. There is news. The radical says we're protecting religious freedoms. We certainly are. Okay. Got some more news. Oh, this is a meeting. Okay, sure. Far from becoming accustomed to my workload as president, I only felt more and more snowed under as the weeks passed. It has been ages since I had any time to myself. I was starting to lose my focus and my temper was growing increasingly thin. Pietro was the first to realize he needed a break. After much cajoling, he finally persuaded me to come to a meeting of his new venture, the Gentlemen's Club. For the past few months, he'd been hosting a salon of sorts, not just for politicians and businessmen, but also for artists, entertainers, people of taste. Okay, he told me with a smile on his face. There was one rule: no wives or girlfriends allowed. So in other words, he has created a backyard tree fort. I wonder if the R in girls is backwards. That would be fitting. So I found myself in front of this new luxury villa. Very loud jazz emanated from inside. I could smell whiskey on his breath. It's going to be a party, okay. He has the privilege to present the man himself, okay. I'd known Pietro for long enough to understand he was more than a little drunk. He made an elaborate mock curtsy as I passed him and walked into the room. Everyone's eyes were on me. Good evening. Dear members, please give a warm welcome, he says. He handed me whiskey. Okay, we all know why we're gathered here tonight, to celebrate life, have a brief escape. Personally, I don't know any better cure for stress than a little drink. Well, we'll just silently raise our glass now, won't we? Now, the tradition dictates that as club president, he has to remind of the house rules. There are 3, no politics, no wives, no one sober. I hate this man. He's supposed to be our oldest friend, but oof, we will sip. Anton Rain might have the power to make presidential decisions, but I, Pieter Vectern, president of this club, now declare the party started. There's a hand on my shoulder. He's going to show us around. Walk down the corridors of his mansion. Statues and paintings lined the stark white walls. An arched window provided a view of the neatly manicured grounds with a swimming pool. A grand lesbian marble staircase led up to the second story. Pieter gestured at the massive crystal chandelier. Oh, jeez. The chandelier was made in the 18th century, can you believe it? There's a hedge maze in the garden. One thing I have to be absolutely clear about is never trust any man who owns his own hedge mage. Hedge mage? Hedge maze as well. Either a mage or a maze. Neither can be good. Hedge mazes should be in weird little children's amusement parks at the side of highways and nowhere else. Okay. How are you paying for this, Pieter? Gus Manger has a lot of contacts in real estate. He brokered a good deal. Oh, corruption, my oldest nemesis. What did you promise him in return, Pieter? Only his money. Okay, sure. You know what? Pieter needs to know where we stand on this. We are disgusted. Jealous. Caviar? Oh, Pieter. Oh, Pieter. You are going to be our downfall. Cocktail waitresses. Okay. No wonder his wife hates him. You know what? We were supposed to have a talk with him. We're going to have a talk with him. Caviar. Ugh. Chandeliers. Ugh. Scantily clad servants. Ugh. This is very opulent in the worst possible way. And he's being a looky-loo at that. Why don't I go talk to Gus? You know what? I'm going to warn you, Pieter. You are going to be the downfall of me. And I can't have you be the downfall of me. He's going to the bathroom. Okay, then. Well, let's talk to Gus, shall we? Standing next to a couple men I recognized as banking industry magnates. Oh, dear. I heard this mansion's a result of your connections. Pieter told me a couple weeks ago that you might be interested in potential opportunities such as this. Let's take a walk. We left the room and made our way to the balcony. He was trying to bribe me. I do enjoy cigars, so I'm tempted to smoke his cigar. After all, if he's foolish enough to give one to me, I should be, greedy enough to accept it, I suppose. Let's take the cigar. From this vantage point, I'm able to see how expansive the building plot is. This is disgusting. I know you're wondering about the deal Pieter made. In a nutshell, thanks to my network, he was able to procure this house for half the asking price. That cheap, huh? Gus would have been delighted to work with me, but unfortunately a deal won't be possible at this time, not for me or my contacts. Why is that? There have been some issues with my business. Oh man, we are not greasing the wheels of this relationship. I understand. Gus will excuse himself. Suddenly I heard a rustling from the hedge maze. Another reason not to have hedge mazes. Sometimes they rustle. Anyway, I looked down and saw a silhouette. Two silhouettes, actually, so close together that they seemed to be entangled. I squinted and tried to get a better look. It was definitely two people kissing, but I couldn't see their faces. I bet one is Pieter and the other one is his servant. I returned to the party and spent some time mingling with other guests, engaging them in small talk. An hour later, Pieter showed up. See, I told you I'd be back before you knew it. I knew you were gone, Pieter. Was that you in the hedge maze? What are you talking about? I went to the bathroom for an hour. Ugh. I will be direct. Why were you kissing her? What? No, I'm a married man. Just so you know, you can tell me anything. I might hold it against you, but you can certainly go ahead and tell me. Hey, you can have her if you want her. Anyway, what's a drink? Oh, man. Oh, boy. Pieter. One important detail kept coming back to me. Red lipstick on his collar, but maybe my memory was playing tricks. Government budget increased. Excellent. Our budget is now balanced again. We no longer have a deficit. He threw a party at his new mansion. Yes, he did. Extravagance and secrecy never ever stops with this president, they say. That's terrible. Pieter will be the downfall of us. After the arrest of the vice president of the Young Swords Cultural Centers, a group of teenagers started protesting in front of the Elec Police Department. Within a few hours, the small protest pulled a lot of people in, which prompted the police forces to intervene. We or our cultural organization pose no threat to the national security, a protester said, waving a flag of the Kingdom of Swordland. That's the old kingdom that was deposed. We have not and do not plan on engaging of acts of terror or violence. Ha ha ha! You have engaged in many acts of terror and violence, and that's why your party is banned. Okay. I think we have to replace Pieter. I really think we do. So what else is there? There's a report about the Hull Sword Post's connection to the Young Swords. Oh no, the Hull Sword Post, the newspaper, is sympathizing with the fascists. That's the top paper. Okay. What else do we have? Okay, let's talk about foreign affairs. The foreign minister of United Cortana, that is the Western Alliance, has offered a substantial amount of financial, logistical, and equipment support. In return, they want to refuel and repair access to their naval base. Peaceful purposes only, eh? Oh no, United Cortana is the Eastern group. I completely missed that. You know what? We'll accept. I think what we really need is some military support because I am very concerned about invasion. You know what? Let's do it. Let's grow our peaceful alliance with the Eastern Bloc and get some budget in return. Now we have money to work with. Surely our economy will benefit from this decision. And Arcasia has condemned it. Interesting. So now we have a meeting about the plan for our immigration policy. We have David Whiskey, the Minister of Foreign Affairs. We love him. Joseph, the Minister of Defense. We do not like him. Lilius, the Minister of the Interior. Not a fan. And Simon, the Minister of the Economy, who has mostly supported us, even though he hasn't been a big fan of our policies. The discussion became heated. Joseph does not like whiskey. Joseph says it doesn't make any sense for me to do that, as a foreign citizen should come before a Swordish citizen in Swordland. Lilia says her analysis is in line with that, especially during the economic recession. We are giving Swordish jobs to immigrants from other countries. What about our own people? Well, I hope all my viewers are well aware that immigration does not economically harm the country that accepts immigrants. That is a fantasy and a fairy tale that allows very, very bad people to win elections on the basis of racism. Let's continue. Immigrants are the reason our economy is not in a state that is unsalvageable. Yes, Whiskey, you are correct. Look at Agnolian immigrants in England. They have revitalized the whole region. Not just that, but they have been boosting the economy of the entire country. Simon can attest to it. Statistically speaking, he says, allowing the immigrants to become part of the workforce contributes to the economy. But I agree that the situation is nuanced. We can't just tighten our immigration policy and expect the economy to stay the same. We need to put the economy and the recession at the forefront. Thankfully, we have just started receiving the financial aid from United Cortana. Joseph can't believe we accepted aid from communists. Oh dear. I never thought I would live to see the day, he says. The Cortanan warships in Conriat. My father would be rolling in his grave. Well, Joseph, you are a jackass, and you're the one who imprisoned us for helping refugees a long, long time ago. So, don't be dramatic. We need to be friendly. Joseph thinks that they are not allies. Lilius agrees. Can we get on topic? Whiskey says, before he was interrupted, look at the superpowers. Do you see them closing off their borders? What do you think why do you think they have such a large economy? They are in their current state because they welcome immigration and use it to their advantage. We need to modernize and reach their level. Yes, we do. Whiskey's of the same mind. We agree on pretty well everything. I love this man. It is proven that immigration helps countries to develop. We cannot just deport our current immigrants. We need a decision, but before we move on, Mr. President, do you have any questions about the current state of immigration? What is the current legal status? Currently, all accepted immigrants are given a work permit on arrival so that they can work and contribute to the economy of Swordland. There is currently no limit on the number of immigrants accepted. However, we are able to sustain with the current numbers. Okay. Despite the laws, says Simon, the fact that many immigrants illegally work for corporations. That is the main issue with immigration right now, not the immigration itself. Lilia says, nonsense. If not for the unlimited amount of immigration, we wouldn't be in this state. Huh. You are wrong, Lilius. How do they usually arrive here? There are 3 major paths. First one is Angland and the Agnolia border. Second one is Bergia to Wayland border, and the third is the Lauren coast. Agnolians are the largest group, flowing past our light border, although recently political fugitives from Vagsland have also escaped via boats through the Grey Sea to the land on our coast. The Waziks, who are facing political prosecutions, tend to use the dangerous mountain passes. Many of them also have Blutish blood. How many immigrants live in Swordland? Official numbers show that we have anywhere between 2 to 3 million immigrants. Lilius thinks that's a substantial number. The primary issue is the strife they cause. Simon says including them in the workforce would benefit everybody. More taxes mean more services. Let's move on to what can be done. Very well. Whiskey opens the dossier, the seal of Foreign Affairs and Trade. Before we make any decisions, he has to remind us, during the elections, we promised to keep our immigration laws relaxed, which is the right course of action. Yosef disagrees because of course he does. He is a jackass. Simon sees his point, but the economy certainly benefits from more immigration. Lilius, the cop, says internal order, on the other hand, suffers immensely and that we should tighten the laws. David lets out a sigh. This is going nowhere. I'm ready to make a decision because it is going nowhere. We will keep the laws relaxed. We have definitely made the right choice, even though Yosef hates it. And Lilius also thinks we have abandoned the swords who need our support the most. She's wrong, but she's often wrong. Yosef thinks it's shameful. Okay. The citizens are not forgotten. Our work for them continues. And Lilia says they must compete to bring food on the table. This is just these authoritarians, the military guy and the cop lady. They're terrible. They have no idea about how to help a people to thrive. Anything else, Mr. President? Okay. Thank you for your contributions. Let's wrap this up. Whiskey's looking forward to upcoming trade talks. Piotr and him have been actively visiting Stallport and Rucklowitz to prepare it all. Simon will be coming along to talk with the economy minister, looking forward to the potential partnership. If we're finished, it's time to head off and get the ministry to work. The border units need to be informed and prepared. Oh boy. I'm going to say keep up the good work. Finish it on a high note. Country overview updated, it says. Overview panel updated. Let's look at the overview panel. Okay. There's so much information here, and I haven't been paying much attention to it at all. But it's probably a really good thing to get like a sort of a reasonable look at the sort of balance of forces here. The nationwide protests have been quelled. It's interesting. I didn't expect that. Her lack of allies is still a big problem. Large reservist pool is good. Experienced generals is a positive, but I'm concerned that we'll have to get rid of one general in particular before too much longer. He is a jackass after all. Okay. In the news, Swordland Today says that President Rains sells Swordland for money. They oppose our alliance with the East, and we should have expected that. That will gain us some enemies. The opening of the Benfi Festival is happening, and this is where our wife gets a chance to speak. Her face is on the front page of the flyer. But the schedule on the inside said that Curtin Lest, the mayor, would be making the opening remarks. I assume that my last-minute announcement must have caused confusion at the print shop. However, I would add, it's probably not confusion, it's probably sabotage. Let's see. The Benfi Festival was one of the biggest events of the year. It originally marked the start of an annual religious pilgrimage, a weeks-long journey still undertaken by devoted Nurists. But today, it was better known as a cultural celebration that drew thousands of revelers to the city. There were film screenings, concerts, theater and dance performances, art exhibitions, and celebrity-studded nightly galas. The opening ceremonies were broadcast on TV and watched by millions. As the car slowed, a coterie of reporters and security guards, what is that word, rushed to meet us. Our wife nervously eyed the waiting crowd. Don't worry, you're going to be fine. I should have probably held her hand. That might have been a better gesture. But she appreciates it nonetheless. As soon as Serge opened the door, we were enveloped by the roar of the crowd. The next few minutes were a blur of handshakes, photos, and reporters' questions. The onlookers cheered as we walked the red carpet to the newly built Arts Center. We followed the guards through the cavernous white halls until we came to a set of arched doors leading to the auditorium. We waited outside as security did a quick sweep of the area and then headed in. Monica says, so this is it. I will finally stand on the same platform as you. A platform where Swordland's women will have their voices heard and acknowledged for the first time. We're going to say good luck because I have never liked the phrase break a leg. After all, I take the issue of fractures very, very seriously. They are my last name after all. Good luck. The two of us proceeded to the podium. I spoke first, delivering a short paragraph about the importance of Benfi and the festival to Swordland. Then I introduced Monica. Thunderous applause echoed throughout the auditorium. Oh, you're popular, Monica, as she stepped to the microphone. I exited the stage and found my seat right next to Curtin Lest. Ladies and gentlemen, as the First Lady of Swordland, I welcome all of you to the Benfi Festival. The crowd erupted again, clapping and cheering. Curtin Lest leaned over and hissed into my ear. Mr. President, I am afraid you have made a great mistake. There will be consequences. I don't like your tone, Mr. Lest. We could ignore him, which is a message in and of itself. We could ask him if he's threatening us, or we could ask him what type of consequences. Should we call him out, or should we play dumb? Let's call him out. No, he is merely telling what will happen. Oh, that's just such a cliched thing to respond. My little stunt has lost his support. Well, that is not at all surprising. However, we are a man of the people, not necessarily a man of the party. And our wife seems to be doing a wonderful job of ensuring the people are on our side. So I kept my eyes on the stage, and when the applause subsided, Monica resumed her speech. The festival holds a very important place in all of our hearts. It is a celebration of art, music, theater, and above all, it's a celebration of the people of Benfi. of their free and open-minded spirit. As we unite for the festivals, we must not forget the values that have inspired them. Today marks the beginning of the Week of Spirit, a time for vitality, growth, and new beginnings. The crowd was hanging on her every word, but the mayor of Anrica and his entourage didn't seem as impressed. I stand on this podium today to speak about change, about a new beginning for our society. Swordland calls itself a free country, yet half of its citizens are still barred from enjoying the same freedoms that the other half takes for granted. I refer to myself and my fellow women. A rumble went through the crowd, scattered applause mixed with murmurs of discontent. To truly move forward, we must break from old traditions and strive towards equality for all, equal rights, equal pay, equal access to education. Curtin Lest yells, "Enough, oh that asshole." The entire hall fell silent. The mayor of Anrica rose and spoke. "I will not let this woman besmirch the traditions upon which our great country was built. You have made a powerful enemy today, Mr. Lest. Let's come down heavy-handed on this motherfucker, shall we? Get in your goddamn seat. No, Anton, I can no longer sit idly by. We are past that point." Curtin turned towards the audience, speaking loudly enough to be heard. "Mr. Rain, what do you possibly have to pass judgment on our values as Swordish citizens? You are not a politician, you are not a speaker, you are merely a woman who is lucky enough to be married to the president. Your place is not at this podium, it is at home, tending to your husband and children." The crowd was getting rowdier. Some booed and jeered at his words, others whooped in approval. Our wife seems a little bit flustered. She froze completely. The audience grew louder. I had to do something. I walked up to the stage and stood beside my wife. The mayor was standing defiantly in the front row. We must choose our words carefully and be direct. "Mr. Lest, do I have to teach you basic manners? Have you forgotten what you learned in kindergarten?" The crowd erupted in laughter. Curtin's face fell red. "He says he will not stand idly while our Swordish values are being tested, especially by our very own president and his harlot of a wife." Oh, you have made an enemy. Get out of my sights, Curtin. We've already alienated the conservative wing of our party. I don't think it's too much of a risk to alienate them further, and Curtin Lest is definitely among that wing. Our party's likely to split in the future, but I still think based on our popular reforms, we can do well in an election. I think we might be able to form some sort of alliance with the communists. That could benefit us in the future. Get out of our sights, Curtin. He refuses to leave? We could kick him out. This is a tough decision. Let's kick him out. He asks, "How dare us, member of the assembly, member of my own party," yes? He is swearing revenge. We have made a enemy for life. Having regained her composure, Monica stepped back. We need Monica to be our voice of the people. We need her to help win over support. And we must be steadfast and resolute in support of her. "Ladies and gentlemen, this incident only serves to demonstrate how visibly divided our country is," she continues. "My intention was not to offend or harm anyone. It is unfortunate that even the mention of modern ideals does not resonate with many in Swordland. I hope we can set aside our differences one day and walk towards a happier, brighter future for all of Swordland's citizens, male and female alike. But we must all remember, the future cannot exist without the past. And I believe we're witnessing the meeting of our glorious past and our bright future right here in Benfi today. Ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to officially open the Benfi Festival, a magna vescor, Vectern sis da, most of the audience finished the decades-old saying, but nervous whispers still emanated from around the room. The opening event finished, but my troubles with Curtin were not. I let Monica and my entourage know we'd be flying straight back to Hallsword. I was in for yet another sleepless night. Well, that was an event. We have angered the Conservatives right proper. At this point, we can no longer expect to win over anyone to the right of our own party. The fascists are our enemies, the business people are our enemies, the courts are our enemies, and half of our own party are now our enemies. However, the people are our friends, and this is a democratic government, so they will hold on to power for us. The more we inspire them, the more they will inspire us. This has been episode number 7 of Let's Play Suzerain. We'll be back with episode 8 for yet more inspiration before you know it. But until then, I must say good night, people. We'll see you soon.